Yeah. Good day, students, and I welcome you all to today's class. This is Civic Education class, and today we are looking at a new topic, which is characteristics of human rights. Characteristics of human rights. As a reminder, you know that in our past classes, right from GS1, GS2, GS3, SS1, we have been treating um, human rights, the features of human rights, the types of human rights that we have, and then we just want to build upon what we have learned in the past class. Okay, but today precisely we are going to be looking at the meaning of human rights, some examples of human rights that we have, and then we are going to look at some of the characteristics, and then if time permits us, we are going to look at the differences between the different classification of human rights that we have. Okay, quickly let us look at what human rights is. What is human rights? Human rights are basic standards that enable people to live a decent and dignified life. They are the standard that are naturally set by it is set by nature to meet our need, to be able to affect our life positively. And then there are also the rights that we enjoy, or the privileges that we enjoy as citizens. What am I trying to say in essence? As long as you are a human being, as long as you are a member or a citizen of a particular country, you are entitled to some privileges. You are entitled to some benefits as human being and as a citizen of a particular country. Also, they are the inalienable natural rights and privileges, just like I've mentioned, enjoyed by citizens of any given state as contained in the constitution of member states of the United Nations Organization. Okay, the dictates of human rights didn't just start up in a day. It dates back to the year 1948. When the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was established as a result of the aftermath of the Second World War. Okay, and then because the rights of people as at that time was infringed upon, it was limited in so many ways. It involved the killing of people, the loss of life, and so many things. And as a result of that, the United Nations organizations, which involves a large number of countries of the world, almost every country of the world, decided to come together to come up with, the items of the dictates of the fundamental human rights, just to protect and defend, human beings and every existing, citizen of each country. So it was established then in the year 1948, and then the United Nations Organization now advise or encourage, every members of its state, to establish, the items of the details of the fundamental human rights in their constitution. Why is that? So as to, let people see the importance, of fundamental human rights, and also to be able to protect the rights of every citizen when it is being infringed upon. And that is why it is written down in every constitution of every state in the world. And to even let us know the importance of fundamental human rights, Professor A.V. Dicey, emphasized its importance in his definition of rule of law, to be able to make us know that, fundamental human rights is a major feature, that can make the rule of law, to be effective in the country. Okay, so we have some of the examples of the fundamental human rights. We have looked at some of those ones in our junior school, but just as a reminder, we'll quickly look at them. Some of the examples of fundamental human rights that we have. Examples of fundamental human rights. One, we have right to life. We have right to life. Two, we have right to freedom. Right to freedom of expression. Right to freedom of expression. We have right to freedom of movement. Right to freedom of movement. We also have right to freedom from slavery, and servitude, from slavery and servitude. Then we also have right to vote and be voted for. Right to vote and be voted for. We also have right to freedom of association, right to freedom of association, and peaceful assembly, Then we also have rights to own private property. Then we also have rights to dignity, right to dignity of human person, right to dignity of human person. Then we also have rights to private and family life. Right to private and family life. Okay, we can't even exhaust the numbers of the items of the fundamental human rights. We have about 30, but for the sake of this class, we'll just look at, some of the examples. We have looked at the right to life, which simply means that every human being has the right to live, and no other person has the right to take another person's life. Then every human being has, the freedom of expression. I have the right to express my opinion without being stopped, or without being denied of expressing myself. Then we also have the right to freedom of movement. I have the right to, go to wherever I so choose to, without being denied of. Then we also have the right, to freedom from slavery and servitude. What am I trying to say? No one has the power or has the authority, to place anybody under them, to put them, into slavery, or to make them, servants, and deny them of what they are meant to enjoy as human beings. Then as a citizen also, I have the right to vote during election. In Nigeria, the average age for voting is 18 years. So once I am of 18 years and above, I have every right to vote during election. And when I have any political aspiration, probably I want to become president of Nigeria, I want to become the governor of a particular state, and I've been able to meet up with the requirements, then no one should stop me, or no one should deny me of carrying out my franchise duty. Then we also have right to freedom of association and peaceful assembly. I can choose to join any association. I can choose to join any union that can protect me, that can provide security for me. Also, we have right to own private property. I have the right to own a land. I have the right to own a car. I have the right to own properties, and I should not be denied of such rights. Then there is right to dignity of human person. No matter what type of job we are doing, no matter what our employment is, nobody should look down on any other person. There is right for me to take pride in what I do. If I'm a teacher, I have the right to take pride in what I do. If I am a cleaner, I have the right to take pride in what I do. So nobody should look down on anyone because I am carrying out my daily duty to fend for my daily living. And then we also have the right to private and family life. The family is the smallest unit of the society. And that is where every society, spring from. So I have the right to have private discussion in my family without any interference, either from government or from any other individual. And such right must not be denied of. Okay, so these are some of the examples of fundamental human rights that we have. We can also refer to some of those other ones in our former notes or in our textbooks. Okay, so quickly we want to look at some of the characteristics of fundamental human rights that we have. Just like I've told us that fundamental human rights or rights are the privileges that we enjoy as citizens or as human beings. It is worthy of note for us to know that some of the features or some of the characteristics of human rights. Number one, we must understand that this fundamental human right that we are discussing or that has been written down in the Constitution, is universal. So one of the features or one of the characteristics of human rights is its universality. Universality of human rights. Universality of human rights. When we say universality, from the word universe, it is found in every country or every nation of the world. Every country or every nation of the world, has this, fundamental right, engraved in their constitution. So what is obtainable in Nigeria, according to the fundamental human right, is also obtainable in the United States of America, is also obtainable in Britain and every other, part of the world. Okay? Another characteristics of fundamental human rights is that it is indivisible. Indivisibility of human rights. The right we are talking about does not just belong to the rich or to the poor. Fundamental human right is for every individual. So it cannot be divided. You can't say, okay, it's a rich person that has the right to live, while the poor person does not have the right to live. It is not divided. It cannot be divided. Okay? So it is equal for everyone, for every human being. No matter what your race is, no matter your color, no matter your sex, no matter your ability or whatever it is, the fundamental human right is indivisible, and every human being must enjoy it, as right. Then, number 3, relativity. The fundamental human right is relative. Relative in the sense that, it deals with the relationship among citizens, and no citizen at all has the moral right to deny or to limit the right of another individual. And that was why it was even engraved in the Constitution. Because if it is not done, a lot of our rights would have been infringed upon. Which means that I, as a human being, I can just look at someone, tomorrow and say, I don't like your face. And I just gun the person down and go about my life, without the law catching up with me. It means that I can just go to anybody's land. I like this land, it's very fertile, and I just take it up. And that is why, it was engraved in the Nigeria Constitution. So you can't just take somebody else's life and not pass through, the punishment, that is required of it. So the relativity as a characteristic of fundamental human right, it protects every right of the citizen, that no other individual should be able to, attack or deny the other of their rights. Okay, then we also have particularity. particularity. What we are trying to say here is that the fundamental human rights is particular to different, countries of the world. Take for instance, the fundamental human right that we have in Nigeria that is engraved in our constitution, is in a way a bit different from that is employed in the Arab nations. So it gives room for people to be able to, effect the dictate of the constitution as long as it is still following, the order or the conditions or the requirements that is given by the United Nations organization. Then also, number 5, inheritance, or when you say it is inherent. Every child, every young person inherited the fundamental human rights from their parents. You know that what qualifies you as a citizen, the number one thing that qualifies you as a citizen is that probably your father and your mother, are from a particular country. Automatically, once you are given birth to, you are a citizen of that particular country. Okay, so in a way, we inherit this fundamental human rights. Take, for instance, right to education. Every child deserves, to gain at least basic education. Every child. Also, we also have the right to life, right to be protected, and it is the duty of our parents, even the duty of the government of the nation, to protect, every child, to protect every human being. So, in essence, we inherit, our fundamental human rights, from the past generation. Okay, because of our time, I want us to quickly look at the different classification of fundamental human rights that we have. We have 3 major classifications of fundamental human rights. We have the civic and political rights. We have the economic and social rights. And then we have the environmental rights. 1, I said we have the civic and political rights. 2, we have economic and social rights. And 3, we have the environmental right. Okay, the civic and political rights, focus more on, our responsibility, in participating in the government of our country, participating in election, and so on and so forth. So, example of such rights are, the right to vote and be voted for, and so on and so forth. And then, under the economic and social rights, this has to do with our, private life. It has to do with trade. It has to do with us engaging in business, gaining profit, and so on and so forth. So, example of such rights are right to work, right to employment, the right to dignity of labor and human person. And also, lastly, under the environmental rights, this has to do with, our environment, having a conducive and a suitable environment for us to live and survive in as citizens of a particular country. So, in the next class, when we meet again, we are going to look at some of the differences between among the 3 classification of human rights that I've mentioned. The civic and political rights is also called the 1st generation rights, while the economic and social rights is called the 2nd generation rights, and then the environmental right is called the 3rd generation right. So when we meet in the next class, we'll continue from there. Thank you so much for your time. God bless you.